Hello, everyone. Happy already Wednesday. How's everyone doing? Good morning, John. How are you? You're in Sarasota. And Kevin, good morning to you. Who's in Lakeland? I still remember living in Lakeland, and I used to visit Sarasota all the time. Good morning, Patrick. I saw that Navarro Apple thinks it's too big to tariff. Are they giving warning signs? You know what? I'm tired of tariffs. I'm already tired of it. Good morning. Copper's not tired of tariffs. Copper to the moon. Good morning, Jacob. Good morning, David. Good morning, Dean. Good morning, Mark. Good morning, Tony. Good morning, Royal Palms. Good morning to people in the background. Good morning to people still filtering in. How are we doing on this fine Wednesday? Can we look at GLD? Just remind me, Royal Palms. So, we had mortgage stuff come out, slight drop in rates. That'll change next week. Crude numbers coming out, and the only other thing we really have is the FOMC minutes. I mean, I don't know what they could say that would rile up this market because it doesn't seem like anything will rile up this market. So, what else do we have? That's it today. So far, besides Apple reversing on the Navarro comments, we're pretty green. You have T-Mobile down, you have United Healthcare down, but overall, pretty green day. If we do a quick refresh here, see everything up, led by financials, technology, basic materials. So far, it was buy everything. 95% still for the pause in July. Fear and greed, right on that cusp of green, extreme greed. In the market, you got to buy it all now. You got to rush out and buy everything because it's a dirt cheap 37.92 Schiller PE. Dirt cheap, down below 38. No, there were no earnings this morning after the close. AZZ and Bassett, nothing. I mean, tomorrow I'm just going to be looking at Delta before the open. Again, it's a very quiet earnings week. Good morning, Harold. All right, so trying to rotate back up, little pullback channel. Does that mean the pullback's over? Well, not in my book yet, but I am watching right now. We start breaking above the channel line and get above 62.89. I'll be focusing still. Be watching about 62.97, then 6,300 on the closing basis. Same thing as yesterday. Go on that in closing basis. The targets are 63.11 and 63.22 for me. On a rotation back down and a sell-off, I'm looking for support around 62.65 to 62.70 is my first support layer. We break below that, watching for a return closer to Monday's lows. Anywhere about 62.50 to 62.46. We do break below that if that were to happen, because again, we still have cycles rolling over, and more importantly, we have weekly cycles still down. So, can you get bounces in here? So far, it's just really on a weekly basis, it's a sideways correction. I wonder if we'll put in a double top pattern here. Again, it's a very quiet week in terms of news. Very quiet week in terms of, I mean, tariffs are going to be the whole thing. But the market's even shrugging off that. We've got the Teflon market, and it's sell vol, by the way. We're looking at selling vol. The VIX. I mean, if you look at this, just breaking down again. Sell vol, buy it all. I mean, if we break down 16, could we see the 15s again? Like right around 15, 14.50 to 15? No fear in this market whatsoever. Good morning, Harold. Good morning, Martinez. Hello, Charles. So, NASDAQ. NASDAQ also rotating back up. NASDAQ's already broken the channel, retested it, and rotating back up above the 50% harmonic where there's a fair amount of selling pressure. It still has to prove itself, but on any longs, I need it to follow through above 22,981.50. Then my targets are 23,021, 022 area, 23,062. All right. That's where we sit on a pullback. There is strong support right around 22,840 to 22,850, and then I'd be looking at Monday's lows. The Dow does have, the Dow is actually one I'm very interested in this morning because it does have a little mini double bottom pattern. Close above 44,715, which is also valid on a 1 hour basis. So in a break above that, I'll be watching for a follow through close back to the rotation zone and rotating up. That's what I'm keeping an eye on at the Dow. The Russell key levels right now back above the 50% harmonic. I'm looking at 2256 roughly on a closing basis, which you got a clear resist prior support shelf. You can see right here. Prior support shelf turned into confirmed resistance, retested yesterday. So that's what I'm watching. Above there, 2263.7, 2271.9. All right, I might as well just move this line up there because that's the key area. We are already on a pullback. Support areas around 2232 to about 2233, right in there. On a bigger drop, I wouldn't be watching Monday's lows yet. I'd be focused on about 2223. And then remember, there'll be more tariff talk today, so don't get complicit in this market. So far, the minor double we were watching, which never triggered, rotation zone held. So DAX breaking out to the upside. The bigger double is not technically off the table yet, this weekly double. It will be invalidated if we get above 24,884. So my max and minor target is 24,698. Okay. Alrighty, there we go. Chart all cleaned up. Yields, we're getting a little pause in there. Now I'm watching for the pullback or a pause. And if we pause, then I'll be watching for a breakout above yesterday's high. If we pull back, I'll be looking for possible long yields. And that would be the same. Short, I'm watching anything on a bounce. On this, I'm watching for rollover plays now in the notes. Or if we pause, then I'll be watching for a break through yesterday's low. 30 years, again, we're getting a slight pause in yield after a pretty big run. So this is nice to get it to possibly reload. Crude finally yesterday hit the first target. We had the key emotional gap closing the 200 and sort of stalling out here. We do have a little mini double. So that was my key first target. Now, if this double triggers, then I'll be watching for a potential pullback. What else do we have? Gold, so far pulling back down. Not quite yet in double bottom territory. I'd really like to see it get below 32.82 to set up a potential double bottom. But I don't have a strong setup. Now we got cycles back to the top on gold and it's pulled back. The only thing we might get a percent beat buy setup tomorrow, which would be a lower probability one, but it is. I'll keep an eye out for that. Silver, not much to talk about. Copper, with the announcement, remember, we import a ton of copper. I don't know if we'll actually follow through with it, but a 50% tariff on copper would be very interesting, and copper goes into a lot of things. So, again, you had to pull back to the rotation zone, setting up a percent beat buy, which was on a break of the high yesterday, was triggered, and it followed through at the close, so it was confirmed. Don't know if anybody spotted that. It came back. We already broke out. Came back to rotation zone above the breakout level, setting up a percent beat buy in the rotation zone, and triggered yesterday. Would I be chasing it right now? Not necessarily. Not necessarily chasing this higher at the moment. There is no great setup just yet. So I'm going to be keeping an eye, if not already long, if it gets above 571 again, or if we keep holding this 547 support. We're already trying to bounce off of that right now. Dollar index was up earlier after a multi-day run higher. Now I'm watching for a pause or a slight pullback, especially if we hold above 96.72 on any pullback. Because again, we had some severely waning momentum down here. We've had a ton of divergences, very still oversold, just bouncing out of that. So I'm still watching, and it's very lopsided from a trading perspective. Everything is short the dollar. But there's just this initial run-up play. Now I'm watching for this pullback for a potential more stable, longer-term setup. Yields on the yen still climbing. Stalled out at the 50% harmonic, so I would not be surprised to also see a pause in the Japanese yen. Then we could get the next higher push. Not much to talk about the yen. Still rejected. There's, again, selling pressure above this 147 area. It's really got a base and breakout above that for me to be interested in the long side. Spiders. Key area is still 623.12 on a closing basis. On a pullback, you have the open yesterday, 621.35 would be the first level of support I'd look for. And then if we sold off more, it would be to the gap fill close, 620.34. But I'm still looking for some upward pressure, but we got to close above 623.12. The Qs have to close above 554.34. On any lower price action, we have 553.38. Yesterday's open first, and then it's the gap fill to the close, 552.34. What else? Tesla with, you got Mecca X and Elon. I'm not even going to say what the controversy is on X now, but it starts with Mecca. There's no way I belong anything Elon right now. So I'm watching for continued rollover plays in that. We had a request for GLD. Again, it's very similar to the futures, although not exact. Yesterday did set up a potential percent beat buy. I'm still looking for another potential one today setting up with cycles at the top. The only thing is if you start breaking below. So let me just move this around. We start breaking below. I mean, gold. See, I focus more on the futures because you get these interesting, weird gap things on GLD, and if you're going to follow something with gold, I wouldn't use GLD. I'd use a Sprott physical. Okay. Right here, PHYS. PHYS mimics a little better than GLD. Just a little advice if you want to do the analysis. I like trading that one better anyways. If you're not trading the futures. So if you do break below this, I'd then be watching for a right back to 295 based off GLD. Other than that, I'm still looking for potential buy setups. And by the way, that 295 is right at the bottom of the weekly rotation zone. I'm still looking for stuff, but again, if it can come down and form another percent beat buy bar, then I'll be waiting for that to trigger if I was just looking at GLD itself. You also want TLT. Another one I'm not a super fan of because of the construction of it, but a lot of people, that's their only option for trading longer term yields. Right now, again, I don't like the mixture of the 20s to 30s. It skews things really weird. I'm not a fan of some of these ETFs, as you haven't guessed. But I would not be aggressively buying this at this point. You can use some trading signals, but if this really starts breaking down the 30-year, we might get a short bounce in this because the 30-year, the longer-term yields are getting a slight pause. in their rising. But again, you got first cross rollover. I'd be looking for short opportunities or trading the inverse. Okay, but again, it has to just on pure technical analysis, that's the close below 85.22 on any follow through shorts. Other than that, I really am not a big fan of it. But if that's what you're forced to trade, at this point I'd be looking for rollover shorts. The only thing that would change my mind is if it started getting and holding a base above 87 again, which means the yields, you know what, everything's dying down with the yields and they've stopped climbing. All right. You got Broadcom, you still got the potential double in play. Other than that, the trend is still up. You got the rising rotation zone. NVIDIA, not much to talk about there. There is a little mini double, but that's only for a potential. I mean, when I talk about a mini double, it might be blown out of the water today because it hasn't triggered, but that's only a pullback to the prior key support area. So that's nothing major. Other than that, what's the trend? The trend is still up, holding the rotation zone for the time being. Let's check Apple with the Navarro comments. Slight gap down. Again, Apple, in order for me to look, at least in the short term, and I'm not very bullish on Apple long term at all, but the only thing short term, it'd have to base above this 214 area. And then the target would be tight. It'd be the 200. Other than that, I'm actually looking for still topping plays in Apple. And I could to see it at least test key support. So, do we have a strong one yet? No. But there we go. That's it. I mean, this is a week just dominated by Trump and tariff talk. Because we got the FOMC minutes this afternoon. I don't know what they could say that would really shake the market. It's still sell vol, and there's a lot of volatility funds out there. Just they're back in the full automated selling volatility, taking the premium from selling volatility and rotating into stocks. So that's providing a upward trajectory right now, unless we get a shock. Now, if we get a shock, that could be interesting. I don't know what that would be, because then if we have volatility spike right now, you could get a major quick reversal in this market because of all the volatility selling right now. But that's where we sit. Nothing else for me to talk about, so I won't take up any more of your time. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and I will see you tomorrow. Remember, tomorrow, where is it? Tomorrow, still no key earnings, but we have jobless claims, a little Fed speak, jobless claims and Fed speak tomorrow. And Friday's also quiet. So tomorrow, just in the morning, 8:30 Eastern. Other than that, it's going to be headlines. So I'll talk to everyone later. Bye for now.